My friend, even if your mind has been misfiring, even if your mind has been shooting blanks so far, I just want you to know that yes, you are perfection made flesh. Even if right now circumstances seem to show or point to a completely ridiculous idea, seem to be pointing to a completely opposite picture, I want you to know that you are indeed perfection made flesh. Even if the people around you may be saying, my goodness, so and so is not so well, so and so is not doing so well, so and so has been showing up for all these past few days, for the past few years, for the past few decades, and telling us the same old story that yes, she or he is onto something really amazing, but we have yet to see the reality, the tangible reality of whatever he or she has been saying or declaring for the past few decades, for the past few years, for the past few months, weeks, or days. I want you to know that yes, you did. You are perfection made flesh. Again, I'm taking my time and just trying to really explain to you something really key when it comes to understanding how, yes, the potential that you are carrying is absolutely beyond magnificent. It's beyond anything you can possibly imagine. Yes, just picture yourself as an expensive, exotic car, high performance car that's been actually given the chance to grace the roads of your city, to grace the roads of your country, to grace the road of your continent. But you still have yet to discover how to properly maneuver this high performance vehicle. But just because you've been unable so far or unsuccessful so far to properly operate this high performance vehicle, it does not mean that the high performance vehicle all of a sudden has gone on to become a regular car, a regular ordinary car. Absolutely not. Just because you are still struggling to actually make things happen as far as the high performance car is concerned, does not mean that the car needs to be downgraded from a high performance to a low performance car or simply a regular engine. Absolutely not. Just because whenever you're on the highway or however you call them in your country, freeways, ordinary cars seem to be passing by and basically leaving you behind and making you feel like you are still and you are probably and always going to be quote unquote, and I don't want to actually use for you to impress it, but let me say it, to believe that yes, things are not going to work out. I just want you to know that yes, you are still perfection made flesh. You are absolutely made in the image of yes, the great and mighty creator. You are absolutely made in the likeness of this God. Good morning to you too, most amazing and absolutely precious and absolutely fabulous wellness with frugal mama. I hope that all is well with you. It is always a pleasure, it is always a blessing to be able to see you whenever I decide to jump online. Today I'm not going to be before you too long, but what I'm going to give you is going to be something really packed. And as I've been saying for the past few seconds, just because your life has not translated yet into a certain glorious reality, does not mean that your life is always going to be the way it is right now. Number one. Number two, just because your brain, just because the organ called the brain, just because this black box called the brain has been actually shooting blanks or basically misfiring so far, does not mean that this black box is basically a regular engine. Just because this car that you have, just because this GPS, just because this black box that's operating your life has not been operating at a particular level, does not mean that this high performance engine has all of a sudden been downgraded to a regular engine. Absolutely not. Good morning to you too, most amazing friend, Boss Jobs. Good morning. Thank you very much for being. Oh, good morning to you too, most amazing and absolutely fabulous as well. Sir Joel Amen TV. Everyone please say good morning and also happy birthday to Sir Joel Amen TV, because yesterday was his birthday, so we celebrated him. So if you can just wish him happy birthday in the chat, I'll be greatly appreciated, because we still want to celebrate him and let him know that the month of May is still all about him, because it is his season. Anyways, as I was saying, just because your life basically has been, you've been struggling in certain areas of your life so far, does not mean that your life is always going to remain the same. Number one. Number two, just because you've been shooting blanks or you've been misfiring as far as what you're carrying is concerned, does not mean that whatever you're carrying is basically useless. And just because as a high performance engine on the highways or the freeways of your country, or the highways or the freeways of your continent, you've been basically not driving as fast as you want, does not mean that this high performance car all of a sudden has to be downgraded to a regular engine as far as you are concerned. Absolutely not. Just because, absolutely not. Let me just say it again unequivocally and very strongly in a way that you can hear me loud and clear. You are absolutely magnificent. You are absolutely the masterpiece that this generation has been looking for. You are basically carrying something that the world needs to see. You are carrying, let me just say something completely controversial, but you need to hear. You are carrying a piece of God that the world needs to witness. You are carrying a piece of light that darkness need to actually see. You are carrying a piece of glory that people around you need to actually witness. So don't keep on looking at yourself through the lens of your circumstances, because your circumstances may be today the way they are right now, but they are absolutely not a reflection of whatever you're carrying as far as, my goodness, the absolute power of this high performance engine that you are here, the black box here, the black box that people call brain. It's absolutely fabulous. And this is something key I just wanted to say out there. Good morning to you too, most amazing and precious friend. Oh, family. Patty, Southern Kitchen, and more. Thank you very much. All the way from Texas. She's actually watching us again. It's okay. You can listen in the background. Thank you very much. I so appreciate you. Your presence is always a blessing. Always a blessing. Always a blessing. So forgive me for starting the day on such a high note. Normally, I take my time to build up slowly, and until I go back. Today, I woke up, I was already on high. I keep saying to myself, but I can start the race already basically at high gear. I can break the engine. And I just realized that it is what it is. Sometimes you're going to just start on a high note. For example, in 1975, when this young man, Keith Jarrett, was actually called to perform in Cologne, in Germany, he was not feeling well. But as soon as they give him this, piano. As a matter of fact, I've been telling the story. Let me just tell briefly again for those who don't know the story. They give him the piano. The piano was supposed to be a high performance piano. He asked for a grand imperial piano, which is basically 97 keys, and basically we can perform at a particular level. Unfortunately for him, today he shows up for the concert. They gave him an 88 key piano. He said, but that's not what I asked for. The young girl simply say, yes, we try everything, but these opera people, that's all they have right now. So we have to make do what we have. He said, but that's not what I asked for. So he was about to walk away. He was still considering walking away. They said, okay, let me just go eat something. He goes to the restaurant. They gave him the wrong food, not exactly what he was looking for. Number three, to make matters worse, he still had a headache because he had not been sleeping properly. Number four, this gentleman not only had a headache, but he also had a backache because his back was killing him. He was carrying braces to just support his back. It was absolutely bad. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. But at one point himself, he says, it is okay. Jazz music is absolutely something beyond the realm of the rational. It is far beyond the realm of what people can comprehend with the five senses. It is precisely a place that you have to enter where you finally find a chance to simply shut down this thing called the PFC, the prefrontal, the PFC, the prefrontal cortex. It only works when basically you intuitively, almost magically, can simply turn the switch off. And when that switch off, basically something completely crazy is going to happen. The subconscious is going to take off and make great things happen, and this is still part of the brain. He says at one point, I'm going to perform. And when he came the chance to perform, the grandmaster, he gets behind the piano, and it's at this very precise moment, it reminded the people that performance in life is nothing, has nothing to do, has absolutely zero thing to do with basically the circumstances around you. Has absolutely nothing to do with the type of car you're driving, the type of house you live in. Has nothing to do with the size of your bank account. Has nothing to do with the level of education you are getting. Has nothing to do with the skills or whatever you actually can as far as success is concerned. Has nothing to do with that. Has to do with something completely unique. Let me show it to you. It says, I'm still going to perform. So he comes and basically unbuttoned. I'm sure he wasn't wearing a jacket, but basically he took off his coat and he said, I'm going to go beyond the piano. I'm going to perform something. And as he was about to perform, that's when basically there was a bell simply signaling the people, the crowd of, I believe, between 800 to about 1,400 people to simply now come into the opera hall because the grandmaster was about to start. The bell was simply going on. And as the bell was going on, Give Jack comes and simply says, I'm going to simply let the subconscious take over. And the subconscious takes over, and the subconscious basically takes over exactly, precisely where the bell actually was stopping. So he started playing music on the same note as the bell. And the crowd of connoisseurs simply said, oh my goodness, we are on to something great, because instead of starting slowly, it went on basically really fast. It was on a high gear. And by 4 minutes into his performance, people knew that they were now witnessing something that was going to make history. And guess what? He played non-stop for about 1 hour. And after that, when this performance was actually said and done, it was actually recording, guess what? It went on to gross the most amount of money any solo piano jazz performance has ever been able to collect as far as album sales were concerned. Why? Because simply at one point, the gentleman simply said to himself, just because the circumstances don't seem to agree with me right now, it does not mean that I am no longer a high performance genius. Oh my goodness. Just because life right now seems to not be agreeing with you does not mean that you are all of a sudden you are being downgraded to a low performance engine. Absolutely not. But just because things around you seem to be actually contradicting the greatness you are carrying does not mean that all of a sudden that greatness has been relegated to a place of mediocrity. Absolutely not. Oh my goodness. Dimitri, please calm down. I'm going to calm down. I'm going to calm down. Why am I going to calm down? Because for today's session, I won't be before you for too long. Before today's session, I would like just to talk to you about this thing called the brain. This thing called the prefrontal cortex, otherwise known as PFC, as people love to call it in the world of mental health, and people love it to look at the brain. PFC. I'm going to talk about the PFC. I'm also going to talk about something really key. Let me just start with the assignment. We're going to go to the principle, then we're going to go to an example and basically end this presentation. The assignment for this for today, as a matter of fact, today is my last live video for the and for the next 8 days I'll be taking a time off. So I will not be before you until Monday. I believe Monday the 28th or 29th. I mean the Monday after the 26th. Yeah, that Monday. So no live, so no upload, nothing for the next 8 days. So today is basically the one time you can catch me live and catch me basically speaking to you before the next 8 days. I'm taking my time off. Yeah, your assignment over the next few days is simply the following thing. In what area of your life, this is the question you have to consider, you have not been showing up as strong as you would have liked to? In other words, in what areas of your life do you believe that you've been actually misfiring or basically shooting blanks and not basically performing according to what you see basically in this brain? Number one, please identify this one particular thing. What is this one key aspect of your life that does not seem to really make sense? You say to yourself, I am absolutely fantastic as far as my calling is concerned. Let's say to design software or to design application or to do whatever or to code or to do whatever to play music. That's your calling. That's exactly what you believe you've actually been called to do. But at the same time, you know that you're not actually performing according to what you see. Identify that for yourself. Number one. Number two, The one key thing I would like for you to do is to do the simple following. Just right beside it, simply say, write this, 7 times 77. Again, so right beside that, you're going to write basically in bold 7 times 77. What does it mean? 7 times 77. I would like for you to consider, yes, this is the area where I've been coming short as far as my performance is concerned. But the 7 times 77 simply stands for one thing. It simply means I'm giving myself permission to extend beyond grace to myself. I'm giving myself permission to extend beyond forgiveness, beyond mercy to myself. I'm giving myself permission to simply say to myself, it's okay. Dimitri, it's okay. You are not being performing according to the amount of greatness you're carrying. It's okay. You still can forgive yourself as far as this one particular area is concerned. You're going to say to yourself, most amazing and absolutely phenomenal party, southern kitchen and more. You can say to yourself, yes, this is the one key area of my life where I believe this is my calling, this is my vocation. Unfortunately, when it comes to my performance, it's basically subpar. It's not been according to the amount of greatness I'm actually seeing, basically, when I look myself in the mirror. So right beside it, you're going to type parties, southern kitchen and more, 7 times 77. You have to do that. It's very important. Number 2, again, it's the same thing. You go basically over the next few days, most amazing friend, family, wellness with Luca Mama. You look basically at your life. You simply consider basically what you've been doing so far. And again, you do the same thing. 7 times 77, most amazing Joel Amen TV. You look at your life, you simply say, yeah, based on what I'm seeing, what I'm carrying, my performance right now has been subpar. But you simply going to write down 7 times 77, most amazing friend, boss Job Zim. You simply going to say, yes, this is what I'm seeing. My performance has been subpar, but I'm still going to write 7 times 77. Why? Because it is important for you to simply say, I'm going to choose to forgive myself. I'm going to choose to forgive myself ad eternum, as Latin would simply say, meaning simply, yes, indefinitely, or basically for quite a long time, as long as I'm breathing, I'm still going to forgive myself. Why? Because this thing called the brain is still a mystery. It's still a mystery. So we don't really have the full extent of understanding as far as the mechanism that actually cause our brain to perform in one particular way. When we think we've actually exhausted all the possibilities, we know exactly how it works, right, left, center, something always comes up to simply say, no, whatever you knew so far was actually basically infinitely smaller compared to what is basically happening in this thing called the brain. Can you imagine? Until 1992, so basically until about 21 years ago, we had absolutely no clue that there was something in this brain called the mirror neuron. So we had no clue. So we basically think, oh yeah, we know. We think we still don't know. So because of that, I want you to always extend grace to yourself. Absolutely. That's the key principle, and that is some over the next 7 days. And when you do that, I want you to commit to the following thing. And you simply going to say to yourself, no matter what, I'm going to keep on showing up. No matter what, I'm going to give myself permission to keep on showing up until I figure a way to make something happen. All right? That's your assignment. Good morning to you too. Most amazing life with maker and family. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Joel Amen TV. 7 times 77. You have to give yourself permission to forgive yourself. Because if you don't forgive yourself, you're going to be actually, my goodness, become a very miserable person. And the brain is going to pick up on that. It's going to simply now challenge your physiology or your biology. And before you know it, you're going to become one of these people basically doing what I call shallow breathing on a daily basis. And before you know it, what's going to happen is the diaphragm will stop operating the way it's supposed to be operating. What's going to happen is the lungs and the heart, which are supposed to be only carrying 20% of your breathing, will be doing most of the breathing. That eventually, how most people come to a place where all of a sudden they have a stroke, because the brain is saying that yes, the heart and the lungs are performing, carrying all the work that was supposed to be carried by the diaphragm. So they simply said, yes, as far as we can see, what we see through the vagal tone, we can see that, yes, we are basically in stress mode. And when you stay in a stress mode for quite a long time, it can go on to simply cause all kind of crazy things in your brain. And before you learn, what you start suffering from is a stroke and so on and so forth, because the brain has not been actually responding properly based on the amount of stress that your body has now been carrying and storing, because whatever you actually considering in your thought will eventually show up in your body. You're going to start embodying basically whatever you actually been carrying in your mind. So give yourself permission to simply do this. Again, let me just take my time. Do 7 times 77. 7 times 77. Absolutely important. Good morning to you too again. Life with Maker and family. And today I promise to be very shortly. For a short time. But today we're going to work. We're going to work and we're going to work. Number one thing I want to address before now I get into the principle and the example is the one key thing that I said yesterday. I was saying jokingly, but I have to go back to revisit that one particular thing. I gave you the example of yesterday of, what's his name again? Django Reinhardt. This Belgian/French jazz musician that revolutionized the world of jazz by, I was actually playing the guitar. He was leading a quintet of jazz performers with a guitar. And I also gave you basically the sentiment that was prevalent amongst most circles, simply saying, yeah, but as far as Mr. Django Reinhardt, because it was actually French, so I have to call his name according to the French culture. I can't be calling him, for example, it'll be wrong of me to simply say, speaking of Michael Jackson, simply say Michael Jackson. We say, who is Michael Jackson? It will not make sense to you. So, because I have to go by the culture. And according to the culture, his name is not Michael. His name is Michael Jackson. So, similarly, if you have to go to the example of this gentleman by the name of Django Reinhardt, and French, his name is Django Reinhardt. So when you look at the example of the life of Django Reinhardt, most people simply say, no, what is happening is a case of cultural appropriation. Because this guy is not exactly of African descent. Is not exactly African American, but is somehow portrayed as the face of jazz as far as jazz music is concerned in Europe and almost throughout the world. That's not cool, because it was not of African descent. It was not an African American. So we can exactly say that this guy was actually a leading figure in the world of jazz music. You can say that. You can say, because I would simply say it's a case of cultural appropriation, and I can see where you're coming from. Basically, it's like this young man, this Canadian guy now, almost American, Justin Bieber, playing his music, and some of his music sound like West Indian music, sound like Jamaican music, like reggae music, but he's not saying, oh yeah, this is, no, he's simply saying because he loves West Indian music, and of course, when he does that, he offends people. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that someone all of a sudden is seen almost as the face of a genre of music, and people who are basically part of this movement are simply saying, why are you saying that? Because there have been other people within this culture that have not been recognized on the same level as Django Reinhardt. So this is wrong. But before we get to this controversy, let me just speak to you using my brain without any emotion. May I argue that there is no case of cultural appropriation? That music is simply, it's a free, it's a free cell that goes from one house to the next, and that goes from one community to the next, and it is now up to us to simply embrace the possibilities and let whoever simply going to lend himself to this process reach the top and simply embrace him as the quote-unquote face of the movement. It is okay. It is okay. It is okay. Why am I saying that? Because, for example, when you go to the world of jazz again, you look at the world of jazz, you're going to see that, yes, as far as the saxophone is concerned, two players have been playing at a high level that we can see as the face of jazz music as far as this particular instrument are concerned. Charlie Bird Parker and the other young man, John Coltrane. These are basically the people that are actually seen as the face of jazz music as far as the saxophone is concerned. To the point where but before he passed away, I believe 1967, if I'm mistaken. Yes, 1967, if I'm not mistaken. If I made a mistake, please just check in Google and let me know. Before he passed away, he was actually seen as basically the one setting the tempo, the tone as far as jazz music is concerned, as a quartet. To the point where when the other guy, Charles Floyd, and his group of people amongst the people, Keith Jarrett, when he came to the scene, people were saying that yes, it looks like Charles Floyd is now trying to copy John Coltrane, because he's also bringing a quartet just like a John Coltrane. So maybe he's just trying to play music like John Coltrane. But that was okay, because quote unquote they were both people of African descent, so among them it was almost okay. But people were still now resenting someone like Keith Jarrett, simply saying, because you are not African American. And even at one point after he was done playing, someone went to him in the back and simply says, you must be black. You must be black because you're playing jazz music with so much soul that you must be black. And his iconic answer was simply the following: yes, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. But why am I saying that? Because when you go back to the world of jazz and you look at this instrument known as the saxophone, well, if you say that, yes, the African American basically are the people inventing jazz, then we have a problem. Because you know what? When we look at basically this instrument known as the saxophone, then we have to go back to the roots. Who is the inventor of this instrument known as the saxophone? The inventor was actually a Belgian guy, November 6, 1804 or 1814. Please check and let me know. But I know it was November 6, because November is a month that I love very much. November 6, somewhere in Belgium, a gentleman named Adolf Sax, he came up with the idea of putting together this instrument known as a saxophone. But over time, this instrument crossed the Atlantic and basically went over to America, where basically it gave birth to this amazing sound that came to be known as jazz music. That's number one. That's very key. We have to understand that. So no one really owns this thing called jazz. Jazz is simply something, it's an idea that's simply floating out there. It's simply up to the people to simply embrace it and take it to the next level and become the face and figure of jazz according to whatever instrument they're playing. And this is very key to understand. Just like nobody can say to, it's very key to understand. There's no cultural appropriation, so no one is above the other. Just like it is almost impossible for you to say to me that yes, the Europeans went to Africa and brought Christianity. That is not true. That is not true. Of course, we know that. We know that the Europeans never brought Christianity to Africa. Maybe the popularized the idea, the democratized the idea of access to Christianity, but they did not bring Christianity into Africa. Why? Because we know that, for example, this young man, King James, when he came up with the idea of putting together this Bible, known as King James, in 1611, the Bible had 66 books, right? 66 books. In 1611, but about 800 years before that, in Africa, there was already a book that was speaking about Christianity. It was a book that was actually in Ethiopia. It was a book that had more than 66 books. It was a book that had 100 books. So basically, the idea of Christianity was already in Africa before the European came with the King James Bible. It was already there, so no one can simply say, oh yes, we brought Christianity to Africa. So that's not true. So please, no one actually owns any idea. It's basically something that's floating around and that go from one place to another, and simply up to the people to simply embrace and take it to the next level. Oh, good morning to you too. Mountain Finance. Oh, good morning to you too. Good to see you. Most amazing family. I hope all is well with you. Always a pleasure to see you. Julie Badi, un grand bonjour. J'espère que tout va bien à Paris. Content en tout cas de vous voir cet après-midi. Enfin, pour vous, pas pour moi, c'est le matin encore. Moi ici, ça va. Donc, je serai devant vous pas pour très longtemps, mais ça va. Donc, that's French. Let me go back to English. Let me switch back to English. So, no one can say that, yes, we own an idea. So, the Europeans never brought Christianity to Africa. It was already there before. But the Europeans simply came to Africa and simply democratized the idea of Christianity. So, just to say that no one actually owns an idea. Just like jazz music was invented in Europe by this Belgian, not jazz, a saxophone was invented in Europe by this guy by the name of Alfred Sax. And Adolf Sax, and eventually that instrument crossed the Atlantic and went to America, where basically it met a culture, a group of people in New Orleans that was so ready for this thing. Oh my goodness, I'm going somewhere. Of course, you know I was born and raised in the Congo, right? Back in it was known as Zaire. This is how funny things get, extremely funny. Extremely funny. And I hope you still saw Joel TV. A couple everything. I went to this country known as St. Vincent a few years ago. And at one point, people started talking to me about a place known as Congo Valley. I said, but what is Congo Valley? They said, no, it's a place where basically everything grows. I said, how come you have a place in this country known as Congo Valley? Yeah, it's absolutely true. As a matter of fact, we're going to take you there. The scary thing is, they took me to Congo Valley. And some of the fruits that I saw in Congo Valley that were not present in other parts of that country known as St. Vincent and the Grenadines are fruits that I used to see when I was growing up in the Congo, in Zaire. So I said to myself, these people speak English, they don't speak French. And there is no type of relation between St. Vincentian and Congolese. But I would see somehow the fruit that I used to see in the Congo are present in this part of this country. Number one, and how is it possible? Someone even went to actually come with the idea to call this place Congo Valley. This is completely mind-blowing. That was just one introduction. Let me now go back to New Orleans. Do you know that in this place known as New Orleans, there's a place known as Congo Square? There's a place in New Orleans known as Congo Square. This was basically almost the birthplace. Like if you go to Jamaica, if you go to Kingston, you have to go to Trenchtown. You have to go to the heart of Trenchtown to see where basically this thing known as reggae was actually born. And Trenchtown is known as the birthplace of reggae music. But now if you go now to New Orleans, you have to visit this place known as Congo Square, because Congo Square is also quote unquote the place where the idea of jazz basically started taking place. So jazz basically started taking place in the minds of people in a place known as the Congo Valley. And absolutely phenomenal. Ah, merci. Heureux de savoir que tu vas bien en tout cas. Heureux de savoir que tu vas bien. Yeah, so that was basically Congo Square in New Orleans. So it is absolutely important for us to realize that no one owns an idea as far as anything is concerned. You simply become the face of an idea, but you can't really say that, yes, this one particular, yes, reggae music, for example, yes, we can say was actually born and raised in Trenchtown. But tomorrow, another musician, for example, in Africa, by the name of Alpha Blondie, can become the face of this genre music in Africa. Why? Because he's going to take the music to the next level. So as much as we have to have the respect and reverence for the people for Jamaica, more specific Trenchtown, from actually inventing the genre music, but they can only say that, yes, the best of the best will come from us. No, somebody can take the same idea and take it to the next level. Just like, and I'm going to stop with this one, the idea of the sport known as basketball actually was invented, came to the mind of someone in Canada. It's only at one point that this idea crossed the border, went south, and went to our brothers and sisters in America. And our brothers and sisters in America decided to take this thing to the next level, eventually to create this thing known as the National Basketball Association, otherwise known as NBA. With this, they're simply now ruling the world. But the idea came from Canada. And similarly, this is the reason why Americans can say that, yes, we own the game, because the idea of the game can go to different direction. And this is the reason why eventually Americans will start going to the Olympics and be defeated by other countries, because you can say you own the game. Because the game is an idea, and the idea is simply free-flowing. It goes everywhere where people are looking to actually simply embrace and take it to the next level. And this is very key. I have to address the idea of appropriation, cultural appropriation that someone may have actually heard as far as this thing is concerned. Now let's go back to this young man, Django Reinhardt. And I'm saying that with a French accent because, of course, it was actually Belgian French. Django Reinhardt. So again, otherwise spelled as D-J-A-N-G-O. First name and last name is spelled, I believe, R-E-I-N-H-A-R-T. So this young man, as I was saying, born in 1910 in Belgium, to a mother of Romani descent, that people call negro in French, not because she was black or she was of African descent, but because simply her hair was so black that the people around simply used to call her negro. In English we say negro, but in French the proper pronunciation is negro. They used to call it negro. And the mother was simply an amazing mother, but she was basically a product of her environment. So she was not really the type of mother to be doting on the kids. No, she was focusing on simply putting food on the table. So by today's standards, some would simply say she was an absentee mother because she was there in the body, but absent because she was so focused on making money, to the point where the kids had to fend for themselves. Very quickly, Django realized that when he goes to school, he does not go to school. It didn't matter to the family, so he had to find a way to simply make his own decision. Eventually, he decided to simply stop going to school, or as we call it in today's language, he dropped out. So as he drops out, this young man started now gravitating toward the world of music. First is attracted to this thing known as the violin. From violin is now attracted to this thing known as the banjo. He started playing this instrument very well. And with this, he started making a living. Basically, he now graduated from stealing chicken in order for him to actually provide for himself, and now making music as a livelihood. And from this point, he now started also playing the guitar. He's doing very well. At one point in his young age, he simply said to himself, I'm now going to go and get married. So he gets married. He gets married shortly before 1927. Basically, when he was barely between 17 and 18, and because he was still not rich, he's living in a caravan, as they would call it in North America, in a trailer. One day he goes to bed with his wife, and basically because back then they were very destitute, or just destitute, because I can't say very destitute, they were just broke. He had a candle burning somewhere close to his bed, and as he was just a man doing certain things, and he simply knocks over the candle. Next thing you know, the candle goes into one of the pots of chemical that his wife was using to make artificial flowers. Next thing you know, the whole place is engulfed now in flames. So they have to escape. Of course, the wife, because he's a gentleman, the wife escaped first. But by the time he's able to escape, guess what happened? Is burned basically 50% of his body. He goes to the hospital. The doctor said to him, you are 18 years old, but unfortunately for you, it may sound really funny, but we have to keep you basically here for the next 18 months. So he's basically hospitalized for the next 18 months. And by the time this is done, they say to him, my goodness, my friend, it looks like your life is completely changed now. You have to pivot and find something else. You can no longer go back to music as a livelihood, because your hands, basically your left hand, there are two fingers that can be completely useless. If you play the violin, you know it's impossible to play with just two fingers. If you play this other instrument known as the banjo, you know it's impossible to play banjo with two fingers. If you want to play guitar, it's almost impossible to also play the same thing. So you have to pivot and start thinking of doing something else. Maybe to simply go and become a panhandler in the street of Paris, you're asking for money. He says no. With all due respect, first of all, don't amputate my fingers. Number two, I'm going to find a way to simply reinvent myself as not as somebody else, but as a musician, but now known as playing the guitar with two fingers. The doctor said to me, you are crazy. His brother hears about what is happening. It's like Joel Amen TV hears that yes, something has happened to Dimitri, and Dimitri can no longer do something. But he believes in me, simply says, I'm still going to give you the means to make this thing happen. So he buys him a guitar that actually more suited for someone in his position. So now Django now teaches himself how to play the same instrument with only two fingers. So he trains now his fingers to move as swiftly as possible back and forth to do the work that four fingers were supposed to be doing. By the time he mastered that, of course, it was a sensation. But why am I talking about this one particular example right now? Only for one key thing, because I started talking about the brain as the black box. And as a black box, it is far more powerful than you can possibly imagine. But as a black box, it has also all its intricacies. And one of the things that you have to consider is like this thing called the PFC, the prefrontal cortex, the PFC, the prefrontal cortex. Just please write it down on a piece of paper. PFC. So again, today, the key thing is 7 times 77, and next line you have to put PFC. PFC is very, how can I put, very deceitful. Let me tell you why. Because scientists now come to realize that yes, the brain does just form itself basically. By the time you're born, you have the full brain. No! Scientists have come to realize that the brain is a very strange instrument. It basically takes its time when it comes to forming all the things supposed to actually be part of its general structure. So the brain is not fully formed. More specifically, the prefrontal cortex is not fully formed until you're about 25. So now this begs the question, why would a young man who's barely 18 or almost 17 go on to make such a crazy life decision to get married? While your brain is still forming itself. Completely crazy. So, but when you understand that, you're going to come to also understand that yes, It was still forming as far as the brain was concerned. His brain was not fully mature yet. So it was okay for him to actually go on to make this kind of mistake. Number one, to get married. Number two, his subconscious might simply say, we are not ready for this. So this is almost how the subconscious went on to make this crazy mistake of causing this candle to simply go on this, to go in a pot of chemicals that caused this whole thing to simply burn. Because the brain was not fully formed yet. The brain was not fully formed yet. But at the same time, here's the funny thing. I wish I had an elastic somewhere. But if you have an elastic, please just take the elastic and just do the following for me. This is the third assignment. Take the elastic and stretch it as much as possible. And now take this stretched elastic band, put it basically around something that actually corresponds to the size of whatever size this elastic band has been able to reach. Please bear with me. I'm going to grab one quickly. I'm back. So this is not an elastic band, but it's definitely something that looks like an elastic band. So I'm getting this. So I'm getting this thing that stretches. I'm getting this. So if I put it here, so by the time this thing stays here for quite a long time, the size of this thing is going to basically remain at this particular level. And because it's going to remain at this particular level, if you put it back now to just rest, it's going to tell you that, yes, I'm so used to performing at this particular level, I can no longer go back to fitting in basically the way I used to fit before. Same thing for the brain. Once you've stretched the brain to a place now, the brain knows that this is now the possibilities. I'm now dealing with infinite possibilities. I'm no longer actually a small thing. The brain cannot return to its normal place. Perfect example. This young man, Django Reinhardt, he goes to the hospital for 18 months and the doctor tells him, yes, as far as you are concerned, that's it. You are now a has-been. You have to consider another career as far as music is, as far as livelihood is concerned. He says, the only thing I know is music. The only possibilities I know are through music. How can you possibly ask me to reconsider or to consider another career? This is not going to happen. The doctor says, but you are crazy. He says, yes. What you don't understand is, once my mind has been stretched to one particular level, I can go back to fit where I used to fit before. I can no longer go back to seeing myself as someone stealing chicken in order for me to provide for my family, because that used to be my life before music. But after music, I realized I could have a decent living actually making music. So why would I consider going back to stealing chicken? This is not going to happen to me. And there's a beautiful video somewhere on TikTok. If I can't find it for you, I'll send it to you. It's a video of this woman, a business coach, talking about the idea that happens in most people, in most circles as far as the corporate world is concerned. She says she's more eloquent than I am. She says the following. She says, once you have given yourself permission within your company, within your organization, to go apply for a particular job, and once you've actually trained your mind to see yourself at this particular job, and you start dressing the part and for this job that you're actually coveting, you start thinking like the job is supposed to require for you to think, to feel the way you're supposed to feel, and to change everything, your mannerism, everything, to actually reflect where you are going. Sorry. Even if you don't get the job, statistics show that most people simply end up leaving the company altogether. Not because they are bitter, but simply because they are saying, my goodness, I stretched my mind to see myself as an executive as far as this company is concerned. I stretched my mind to see myself as a manager. I stretched my mind to see myself as a director. I stretched my mind to see myself as a senior VP. As far as this company is concerned, I know I have what it takes to actually do the job. You did not pick me, but because I see myself so much at this particular level, I can no longer stay here. I'm going to move on. I'm going to go. Not because I'm bitter, but simply because my mind has been stretched now. I'm so used to being at this particular level, and this bro, because of course I stretched it too much. But my mind is actually used to actually being on a particular level. I can no longer go back to fit where you actually used to put me. I can no longer go back to just go and do a lowly position at the way I used to. So I have to move on to go somewhere else that can accommodate the way I see myself now. And this is what happens. Same thing as far as Django Reinhardt was concerned. Django says, no, I'm a musician. I'm a jazz musician. Europe is waiting on me. Europe is waiting on me to deliver the best music as far as the gypsy jazz is concerned. I can't let them down. My brother, my forefather in 1810 or 1814 invented this thing known as a saxophone, and it's doing very well in America. But as far as this jazz music is concerned, there are still possibilities. I can still take this thing to the next level. I know that in America, in this place known as New Orleans, there's a place known as Congo Square. Out of Congo Square, African American and most European are getting together and putting together a genre of music that's doing very well. It's called the jazz. But that's the version. As far as I'm concerned in you, I'm putting together a new sound, and the sound can only come through me, so I can go back to doing things the way I used to before. And of course, it went on to revolutionize the world as far as jazz is concerned. Let me just slow down. Oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Miss Queen Nunu is in the house. Thank you very much. God bless you. Peace of the pie with Ty. Oh, Ty, my brother. Thank you so very much for being. I've so missed you. Thank you very much for being your amazing self. Dr. Kenneth from Mountain Fantasy is saying, anytime you steal chickens, you tend to get. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So he says, I don't want to be flopped, so I want to just go back to living my life at the highest level. I need to go back to simply playing jazz music. And eventually he went and simply revolutionized the world of jazz music and gave us this body of music that came to be sampled in the movie known as The Matrix, because they realized there was a musician playing jazz music at the highest level. It was so soulful, it was so funky that we have to put it in our movie called The Matrix. So way before Django in 1966, the Western movie, way before Django with Christopher Waltz and Jamie Foxx released in 2012, there was another gentleman by the name of Django Reinhardt out of the heart of Paris that put music basic on a different level. It was simply saying, I'm doing this because I know that my brothers and sisters in this place known as Congo Square in New Orleans in America are doing the thing. I'm going to do my thing as well in Paris, because jazz music has to evolve according to culture and context. And basically, that's how it became, quote unquote, the face of jazz music as far as Europe is concerned, and almost as far as the guitar is playing in the world of jazz. But let's go back to the world of science. Science again. The PFC, prefrontal cortex. Now, it's about you. Just because you may have made a few mistakes so far does not mean that life is have to end there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you a perfect example. The brain is constantly basically rewiring itself. This is called neuroplasticity. So, the possibilities are completely endless. Always rewiring itself. Just because you've been unable to actually perform at a particular, does not mean you're going to be just always there. I started by simply saying that just because you're actually shooting blanks right now, does not mean that whatever you're carrying does not work. Just because the weapon has been misfiring does not mean that the weapon does not work. Just because the engine not performing very well does not mean that the high performance engine is not being downgraded to a low performance. That's not the case. Let me give you a perfect example now. This may be controversial a bit, but I'm still going to actually go that way. In 1984, in America, a young girl had to make a very crucial decision in her life. She was barely 21 years old. She was the first of her kind, of African descent, to receive the title Miss America at the time. But in the midst of all this fantastic moment, she had to go before the media and simply say, I'm now going to relinquish this. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to give it up. It was a hard decision. It was a very hard decision. But she had to make it. She had to make it because a year before that, in 1983, as she was working, I believe, slightly before that, in 1982-91, she was working somewhere in New York. She was working as an assistant and as a model. Sorry. And as she was working there, the photographer simply decided to convince her to start posing for him. And as she started posing for him, one thing led to the next. Eventually, she started posing for him, basic undressed. And as she was posing for him undressed, one thing led to another. He invited another girl to actually come, and they did a photo session. It was basically two women basically undressed, and they took pictures. But this guy said to this young woman, of African descent. I'm going to take the pictures. That's only for art. I'm not going to be releasing the picture. As a matter of fact, I'm only going for the silhouette. Your face is not really discernible, so no one can really see who you are. So I'm not going to use this picture. And according to the woman, the young woman herself, she had never signed a release form simply giving the photographer permission to use his pictures. But even after it was done, he showed her the negative. The negative basically showing that yes, of course, it was very interesting. He showed the negative, but through negative, you can make a negative say anything. The negative was simply supposed to show her that these were basically a bunch of silhouettes. There was no really discernible face that could actually be recognized. But as this young girl decided eventually to move on from actually that job to actually go do something completely different, she entered this thing and she became eventually crowned Miss America. The photographer now realized that there's a possibility as far as making money of her is concerned. He says, I still have the pictures, but what can I do with the pictures? Because this woman, of course, will not actually agree to let me be part of her success. So what he's going to do, he went after Playboy. He said to Playboy, I would like to publish his pictures. Could you please give me some money so actually so we can actually go to publish his pictures? Playboy simply said, no. Miss Happiness said, we can't do that because this is so, no, that's not right. I'm not going to do that. So he decided now to go to another magazine by the name of Penthouse. He goes to Penthouse. He says, I have these pictures that represent basically the current Miss America, which happened to be an iconic person because she's the first person of African descent to be crowned Miss America. So can we do that? Of course, Penthouse simply say, yes, let's make that happen, and we're going to give you a check. And the check was for a measly $50,000. So with this check, the picture went on to be published. And as it was published, of course, she was completely heartbroken and was completely humiliated and embarrassed. And she says because of that, she's going to simply relinquish everything and walk away, not be called Miss America again. At first, she decided to do one key thing, to complain. Because of course, she says, I'm a victim. I've been actually victimized. So she takes them to court. She sued them at the time for about $400 million in 1984. That was quite a lot of money. But at one point, she had a change of heart. She said to herself, I may be young, but I'm starting to understand one key thing. That my brain, back in the days when I agreed to this picture, my brain was still yet actually not really properly formed. So therefore, my prefrontal cortex was not actually helping me make the right decision because it was not fully formed. So this is why I even agreed to this picture in the first place. I should have never agreed to these pictures. But it has already happened. It is what it is. But I'm simply going to simply rewire my brain very quickly. She said to herself, my brain now has been stretched to embrace the limelight. My brain has been now stretched to embrace the limelight. So I'm living now large. So basically, I gave up the crown. I'm no longer Miss America, but I'm living up large. So my mind has been exposed to the infinite possibilities. I'm not going to go back to actually just being a regular person in the background. So she says, 7 times 77. She never said, but that just means saying based on the assignment today. She said 7 times 77. She said to herself, that's her name. God bless you, by the way. One day I'm gonna get together with you, Mrs. Vanessa Williams, and I'm going to give you a big hug because it took tremendous amount of resilience to do what you did after that. Because she says, I'm now going to forgive myself. I'm going to apply 7 times 77 rules. I'm going to forgive myself from actually making a decision that was completely stupid to go pose naked when basically I did not know what's coming. So I'm going to forgive myself. It's okay. You made a mistake. Young Vanessa, you made a mistake. It's okay. It's okay. But you are not going to be a victim. You are not going to see yourself as a victim because if you do that, you're going to basically penalize yourself for the rest of your life. You made a mistake, it's okay. You give up the crown, it's okay. People are basically demonizing you because you made that crazy mistake. It's okay. Let them keep the crown. Let them keep everything. But I'm going to show you because your mind has been stretched that once you embrace this new state of mind, things are going to be completely different. She said right after that, I'm not going to go high. The picture are extremely, embarrassing. It's extremely embarrassing because it was so embarrassing that even Playboy refused to publish them. She says, the picture is extremely embarrassing, but I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to go into hiding. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go now to simply let them keep the quiet, but I'm going to go now and simply embrace the possibilities. What did she do? She went on to simply jump, my goodness, to jumpstart her career in the world of entertainment. She went into acting and she went into music. And with these two things, she went down now to actually even make her name bigger. To the point where many years later, the people from Miss America had to come back to her and apologize, to simply says, my goodness, what happened a few years ago back in 1984, we let you down because those pictures were published without your consent, and we could totally understand that this was completely, this was a disgrace. We should find a way to actually be with you, to give you the mental support you needed in order for you to actually overcome this, but instead we simply threw you under the bus, and that was wrong. Because guess what? Out of all the people that eventually came to be known as Miss America, she is the one person that simply came to put Miss America on the map, because she went on to simply redefine herself as a bigger personality, much bigger than Miss America itself is concerned. Why? Because she simply applied the simple formula. My mind is absolutely fantastic. My black box is absolutely fantastic. This prefrontal cortex is absolutely fantastic. But from time to time, it's going to misfire. It's going to be shooting blanks. But even when it does that, I'm not going to be so much focusing on that. I'm simply going to apply 7 times 77. I'm going to simply forgive myself from actually coming short as far as the performance is concerned. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep showing up, because as I've been exposed to what the mind can do, I can go back to fitting in the small places like a stealing chicken, like a Django used to do before, or going back to being an assistant to some obscure photographer somewhere in New York City. I can do that. I have now to go embrace the possibilities and simply go on to become the mega star I was so designed to be. And the rest is history. With this, my friend, that's it for me. It is now 8:36. And yes, good morning to you too, most amazing family. Tonya Renee, thank you very much for being here. I so appreciate you. Yeah, so with this one, I basically I've come to the end of my presentation. I've been speaking for about 55 minutes, and I have about 5 minutes left before it's actually an hour. And let me just see if there's any feedback or any question. Again, let's go back to the principle. You have to identify, the assignment. You have to identify for yourself what is the one area of your life where you're not been performing very well. It could be your health. It could be your wealth. It could be your relationship with people. It could be relationship with yourself. It could be your sense of spirituality. Whatever it is, I can be prescriptive. Whatever it is, you yourself know exactly what it is as far as you are concerned. You know when you're supposed to be performing, but that's not exactly what is happening right now. So write it down on a piece of paper, number one. Number two, right beside that, I want you to write down the following: 7 times 77. You have to simply forgive yourself, basically ad eternum. So again, that's Latin, simply meaning forever. You have to forgive yourself for not always being the best version of yourself. But as you do that, you have to go to the next lane, and you have to keep promising yourself, to commit to always showing up. Keep on showing up, because if you keep showing up, my friend, one way or the other, the brain is simply going to rewire itself and simply give you the better options or the better performance you're looking for. Because the more you actually put demands on your brain, the more you put demands on your brain, the more you simply say to your brain, yes, I know so far you've been misfiring. I know so far you've been shooting blanks as far as what I'm looking for is concerned. But I still trust you. And this is exactly what I'm looking for. And the more you put pressure on your brain as far as one particular thing is concerned, the more the brain is going to go on to give you simply outcome that's simply going to amaze you far beyond anything you can possibly imagine. Just think about it. 1928. Just think about 1928. The world of sex is still basic in its infancy. The world of sex is still in infancy. We don't know the brain the way that we know the brain right now. So, but this young man, completely uneducated, illiterate, because it was so unlearned that someone had to teach Django Reinhardt how to write his name when it comes to writing an autograph, because he dropped out of school and he never knew how to read properly, let alone how to write anything. So someone had to teach him how to write his name. just to tell you how bad it was. But this man intuitively understood that yes, my brain is going to give me exactly what I'm looking for. If I put a demand on my brain, it's going to give me exactly what I'm going to put in front of him, because I simply intuitively believe in the principle of neuroplasticity. And the more he did that, the more he simply say, yes, of course, you only have 2 fingers, you're supposed to have 4, but I'm simply going to teach you how to move the fingers with such dexterity and speed that before you're going to be putting together a sound unlike any other sound coming from the same instrument played by people with 4 fingers. He started doing this. My God, by the time it was done, of course, he made history. And slowly but surely, until he passed away in 1953, what happened is his music started spreading all over the place. His album started going all over the place. He started going to places like America, where basically reaches the home of people like Jimi Hendrix. And Jimi Hendrix listened to the music and said, no, this guy was completely on a different level. Jimi Hendrix went on to play basically the national anthem at the Woodstock in 1968. He played with such virtuoso. People started saying, my goodness, where this is coming from? But what they did not know was that there was another man before him by the name of Django Reinhardt. We used to play the national anthem with the same level of virtues, if not more. Number 1. Number 2, another young man by the name of Prince Rogers Nelson, otherwise known as Prince, eventually came to say, yes, now I can play 27 instruments. But there was one person who only focused on one instrument because he was basically forced to focus on one instrument. But he mastered this thing so well that when he played this instrument, this guy was playing on a totally different level. And one key thing I learned from him is that no matter how bad it gets, never, 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 never give up. And as a matter of fact, one thing I learned, that's what Prince was saying, one thing I learned from Django is the fact that yes, the bigger the crisis, the better the outcome. The bigger the crisis, the better the outcome. This is precisely the reason why when he was actually called to actually perform at the Super Bowl for the very first time, as far as his career is concerned, the day he was actually supposed to play, it was raining. His manager called him in the morning and says, Prince, we have a problem. It's raining right now. If you go and perform, you're going to basically endanger yourself, or possibly also cause people also to be put themselves in place of great danger. So we have to cancel or to simply scale down what we're planning to do as far as the concert is concerned, because it's too much rain. Number 1, it's slippery. Number 2, it's not good for the instrument we actually came because they rely on electricity. Here's the answer that Prince gave. Can we make it rain harder? Because he was simply telling managers, but yes, the bigger the obstacle, the better for us. The bigger the obstacle, the better for the, oh my goodness, for the PFC, because the PFC is simply an engine that's looking for trouble. The bigger the trouble, the bigger the outcome as far as the PFC is concerned. But you have to know how to put pressure on the brain. You have to know how to put tremendous pressure on your prefrontal cortex. You have to know how to do that. It happened before, again, 1975, with Keith Jarrett in 1975 in Cologne. I had to say in English, but in French, it's called Cologne. When he went to perform, basically under extremely stressful circumstances. But this extremely stressful context is precisely what helped him give birth to the most magnificent album that made him the most amount of money as a musician, period. And basically surpassed the sales of any other album when it comes to piano or jazz performance, solo performance ever, because he simply was under tremendous pressure. So whatever you're going through right now, going back to yesterday's presentation, you have to simply embrace it, because the heat of the kitchen is precisely there to help you give birth to something amazing, not to crush you. All right. Oh my goodness. Oh, Sam Coach is in the, yeah, the Coach Sam is in the house. Thank you very much. All the way from Germany. Thank you so very much for being here. I so appreciate you. Good morning to you too. Oh my goodness. Again, good morning to you too, Coach Sam. Good morning to you too. Most amazing Tonya Renee. I so appreciate both of you as well. Thank you very much. All right, let me see if there's any question. Otherwise, I'll be taking my leave very shortly. And again, as I'm saying, today is the last time you're going to see me live. Before, yeah, I'm going to be taking my time off between now and coming back to you. Let me just check my calendar now. Oh my goodness. 2023 calendar. Okay, let me see. Okay, where is Dimitri? Where is Dimitri? Calendar. Yes, so next time you're going to see me live will be on May 29th. And we're going to go back to talking about minimalism. And again, for today's presentation, This is my last live and my last video until between now and May 29th. So I'm glad you are here to actually witness what we're discussing today. Again, when it comes to what we're discussing today, minimalism. Just because basically your life has been stripping you naked, or basically reducing to your smallest and simplest expression, does not mean that life is over. I gave you the example of this young girl, Vanessa Williams, in 1983, 1984. Basically, she was embarrassed, she was humiliated because basically someone decided to publish pictures that were supposed to be just a picture between works of art between her and the photographer. And when they did that, they simply caused her to simply feel this small at first. Because she was basically reduced to a small expression. But she says, no, I'm not going to complain about what is happening right now. I'm simply going to use that as an opportunity to simply go back to what I believe is actually the best thing for me. Oh my goodness, minimalism is actually the best thing for me, because it's simply now going to cause me to now release now what I will simply describe as boundless creativity. I'm going now to simply jump on this thing and simply now propel myself to the next level as far as creating things are concerned. I'm not going to go to become a musician and become very successful at this one. I'm also going to go to become an actor, and I also become amazing as basically an entertainer. And with this, she simply went on to simply let the world know that yes, sometimes you're actually much bigger. Oh my goodness, you're actually much bigger than the thing that actually seemingly standing in your way. And that was 1984. Way before Jennifer Hudson in 2004, when basically she was kicked out of this thing called American Idol because someone said that yes, you can sing as good as you think you can. My goodness, you're not as good as you think. Instead of giving her the vote she was supposed to receive, she received not enough vote, and she was basically kicked out. And then she went on to simply have the most successful career as anybody coming out of American Idol, basically to surpass basically everything that everybody else combined has been able to achieve, because she simply used that low moment when she was reduced to a small expression to go on to build something completely amazing. As an actor, because she received basically an award in 2006 for performance in a movie called Dreamgirls, and not only that, but she also put together a song in that movie that simply let the whole world to put us on notice that yes, this is a woman whose mind has been stretched and it's not going to go back to what it used to be before, because she simply said, I'm not going to let this let down basically affect basically how I use my brain. I'm simply going to keep the same amount of pressure in my brain until my brain is going to give me exactly what I'm going to look for. And guess what? She went on to become an actor, and number two, she went on to put together a song that came to basically put the world on notice. The song was simply saying, you are going to love me. That's exactly what the sentiment should be as far as you are concerned. You simply have to look at all the people laughing at you right, left, center, because your life has not been going the way that it was supposed to go, and let them know that yes, no matter what, one day you're going to love me. You're going to say, I used to know Coach Sam. I used to know Brother Ty. I used to know this person, this amazing girl, young girl, Tonya Renee. I used to know Wandelos Santos. Thank you very much for being here. I used to know Miss Queen Yu. Because if you keep putting pressure on your brain and you refuse to go back to where you were before, your brain is simply going to mesmerize you and give you something much bigger than what you can possibly imagine right now. All right? Oh my goodness, I so love all of you more than you can possibly imagine. You are indeed perfection made flesh. You are indeed perfection made flesh. And someone challenge me, simply say, let me challenge you right back, because you are not a physical being having a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being having a physical experience. And as a spiritual being, you are simply the reflection of simply the God we decide to create you. You are the reflection of the God we decide to create you. You are basically made in His life. You are made after Him. And the perfection His King is also yours. But just because you've been actually misfiring and shooting blanks, does not mean that, yes, whatever you're carrying is actually less glorious. And you can say, no, my friend, if you keep putting pressure on this thing called the brain, I'm not even being spiritual, I'm just being scientific. If you keep putting pressure on your brain, you're simply going to go on to become the Thomas Edisons of the world, because he simply said to himself, I'm not going to be reduced to how the teacher used to see me when I was in school. I'm simply going to see myself as much bigger than this. And because he saw himself as much bigger, he went on to simply become the big person he became. And in the way he went on to simply attract people around him like the Henry Ford. We went on to revolutionize the world of business as far as America is concerned, and set or pave the way for people like Elon Musk eventually to show up and simply say, yes, it's not about basically how bad things have been so far for me, but it's about how the intensity I'm going to put on my brain, the intensity of demand I'm going to be putting in front of my brain until the brain's going to give me exactly what I'm looking for. And I'm not going to stop there because, of course, sky is the limit. As a matter of fact, who's talking about the sky? The possibilities are simply endless. All right? Love you so very much. The best is yet to come. But as for now, I'll be taking my break. Let me just say good. Oh, my goodness. How did I miss you? Oh, my goodness. Saniki DIY. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I almost miss you. Saniki DIY. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you very much. Patty, Sunny Kitchen, and more. Thank you very much. I know you're listening in the background. Piece of the pie with that, thank you very much. Mountain Fan, Dr. Kenneth, thank you very much. Tonya René, merci beaucoup, thank you very much. Sam, Dr. Sam, Coach Sam, all the way from Germany, thank you very much. El de los Santos, thank you very much. Oh my goodness, most amazing family, one busy mama, all the way watching me from Puerto Rico on vacation. Thank you very much, because I know you watch me somewhere on the beach, so thank you very much. Oh my goodness, that's so fantastic. Sean Joel TV again, thank you very much. Have yourself a fantastic, thank you. I'm going to have a fantastic break. All right. Phone Corners Custom Product LLC, thank you very much. And let me just greet a few people and I'm going to be taking my leave. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm so sorry. How did I miss you? Oh, I miss my brother here. Oh, Kesha. King Kesha was in the house. Thank you very much. That's why you have to pay. King Kesha is in the house. Much love to you too. Oh my goodness. So he's watching me all the way from Rabat in Morocco. Oh my goodness. Oh my brother, thank you. My cousin, thank you very much. You rock. You rock. Thank you very much. Thank you. Julie Badi, merci beaucoup encore. Okay. Life with Maker and family, thank you very much. Okay, who else was here? Yes. Boss Job, thank you very much. Wellness with Flu Government, thank you very much. And of course, before we go, please very quickly, yes, again, King Kesha, thank you very much. Sorry for almost missing to actually acknowledge you. And also, Saniki DIY, thank you very much. So I think I've acknowledged everyone. So thank you very much for being here. Before you go, please just go on to simply wish this amazing gentleman in the chat happy birthday. Yesterday was his birthday. His name is Joel Amen TV. It was his birthday. Please say happy birthday to him because he's definitely someone absolutely amazing. All right? Love you very much. You know my heart. If I could be here for 2 or 3 hours, I will do it. But unfortunately, I have things to do and my family is just waiting for me. They simply say, Dimitri, please hurry because we're waiting for you. So I gotta bounce. Love you very much. The best is yet to come. All right? Take good care. Kesha, enjoy vacation. One busy mama, enjoy Puerto Rico for me. And I'll be talking to you soon. See you Monday, May 29th.